All right, in the last video, we discussed the literacy test and the poll tax. These are ways that black people were disenfranchised, okay? Well, let's talk about how white people in the South, especially in Louisiana, enfranchised their own people, okay? So what happens is it's called the grandfather clause. This was come up with in Louisiana. Now, what was going on is this, okay? Because of the poll tax, because of the literacy test, poor black people and poor white people were not really allowed to vote in the South, okay? You had to be a rich, white, Southern Democrat, typically. So the poor blacks and the poor whites were really thinking about, okay, well, who's causing us to lose the right to vote? And we're talking about 95% of the South, y'all. We're talking about that many people disenfranchised, at this time, somewhere close to that. So the poor blacks and the poor whites were going to get together and have a rebellion and kick the rich white people out. And once the rich white people caught on to the amount of anger coming out of this large group, they came up with a plan to split the poor people and make it where they fought each other instead of fight the rich white people. It's called the grandfather clause, okay? So anybody whose ancestors voted before 1865 were exempt from the voting requirements. An example, poll taxes and literacy tests. So if your grandfather could vote before 1865, then you don't have to pass a literacy test or pay a poll tax. But the question is, whose grandpa could vote before 1865, before the 15th Amendment was passed? It's only white people. So this gave white people back the right to vote while still denying black people the right to vote through literacy tests and poll taxes and other means as well. All right, the rest right here, we're going to go to number 12, Booker T. Washington, okay? This man was born a slave, okay? He got his freedom, and eventually he created the Tuskegee Institution and wanted a gradual process for integration, okay? Booker T. Washington was like the Martin Luther King of his era, of the 1800s, okay? So, very peaceful man, very relaxed man. He said that integration should happen slowly because white people and black people, on the day that slavery ended, were not really ready to hold hands and sing Kumbaya yet, okay? So, his counterpart, the opposite, is W.E.B. Du Bois. Okay, this African-American leader helped to create the NAACP to fight for civil rights by continuously protesting injustice. W.E.B. Du Bois is more like Malcolm X in the 1960s, but this is the 1800s, okay? So the reason why he's important, he wants everything now, okay? He wants protest continuously until they get what they want, okay? So one of the things that he did that was really significant, because this group is still around today, is create the NAACP. He helped to. He's one of the founding members. NAACP, like I said, still around today, fighting for black people's civil rights, and it stands for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, okay? Every time NAACP comes up in the notes, I am going to ask you what it means. You need to remember that, okay? So I'm going to say it one more time. You can write it down if you'd like. It's the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Okay? All right, moving on. Miss Ida B. Wells. Okay? This black newspaper reporter had to flee because of her reporting on lynchings in Memphis, Tennessee. Okay? So Ida Wells is a newspaper reporter. What's happening in Memphis, Tennessee is, in a certain area of that city, the black store owners were doing better than the white store owners financially. So the white store owners started burning their buildings down and hanging them from trees. Now, Miss Ida B. Wells did some investigative journalism and found out who the Klan members were that were doing this. And she published their names in the newspaper, okay? They're basically saying this group of men was at this lynching and they were the ones that actually put this man swinging from a tree. So Miss Ida B. Wells gets a visit from the Ku Klux Klan in the middle of the night. With a burning cross on her front lawn, they told her that if she doesn't get out of Memphis, then she'll be dead by morning. So she grabbed everything she could and she left and moved to Chicago, Illinois. Okay. When she was in Chicago, she actually continued writing stories on the lynchings from Memphis because she had access to several sources that still lived there. But the thing was, they could not find out who she was because she was using a different name by that point. Plus, she was pretty far away from Memphis. All right, the last one right here, y'all, you need to know this. This is a very important definition, okay? Lynching, okay? So a lynching is an illegal execution, which is usually a hanging. It's not always a hanging, okay? Now, that word is illegal execution. So when somebody gets executed in a prison, that's not illegal. That person has gone through a trial, they have been found guilty, and they have been sentenced to die from an execution. That's legal, okay? But a lynching is whenever a group of people just decide, hey, we're gonna get together and kill this dude, okay? No matter what they did, it doesn't matter. It's an illegal execution by a group of people, okay? If you get shot illegally by a group of people, it's a lynching, okay? If you get hung, that's the most common one that we talk about. All right, that's all your vocabulary for this video and for the chapter, actually.